Moving on to another issue. I alluded to this at the start of the show. It's pretty extraordinary. It is extraordinary. Residents in Melbourne's western suburbs are up in arms, and rightly so, because the Victorian Andrews government is preparing to store contaminated soil from the controversial West Gate Tunnel project in Wyndham, near homes. Liberal Victorian Member of Parliament Bernie Finn represents the Western Metropolitan area. He joins me now live in Melbourne. Bernie, you raised this with me in and around a conversation we had on Friday night. I thought you were, well, not gilding the lily. I thought you were maybe over-egging the custard, as my nana would say.
Yeah,
but this is fair income, isn't it? This is fair income.
Yeah, there is no GST on this story at all. This is actually on the cards, and people are gathering, they are protesting, they are ready to fight big time on this, because we are talking about dumping toxic soil within 70 metres of residential housing. I just don't understand for a moment how any government can even contemplate this sort of thing. It is insane.
So you're part of a parliamentary inquiry. How much scrutiny? I mean, we've got this issue in New South Wales where the EPA is all up in arms about some noises that freight trains make, which will then force trucks onto the road. Where is the EPA and all the environmental bodies on this?
Well, the EPA has gone missing, as it always does. I don't even know why we bother having an EPA in Victoria. It just doesn't do anything at all. You know, these people have just been left in the lurch, and we just don't know what's going to happen next. Last week we had the Treasurer and the local member, Tim Pallas, saying, oh, it's only going to be a temporary thing, and then last night he's come out and said, oh, we mightn't do it at all. And then the federal Labor member has come out and she's outraged about the whole thing. So, the questions are just gathering momentum every day, and there's no answers from a government that doesn't seem to have a grasp on what the hell it's doing.
Well, last night, Tim Pallas, who's the Treasurer in Victoria, he turned up to a public meeting, as I understand, in and around the Wyndham Community Activist Group. I've got to get the name right. He went out to the community. He was booed and jeered. This looks to me, though, with some of the backtracking that's happening in the last 24 hours, that they've been found out, and now they're trying to get around, what were, I suspect, genuine plans to dump the soil in and around these homes.
Yep. Yeah, look, I have absolutely no doubt that was on the cards. That was definitely going to happen. Whether it happens now or not, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is they have to dump this stuff somewhere. And I don't want it in the western suburbs. You know, we are sick to death of being the dumping ground of Victoria. Enough. Put it somewhere else, and I'm not exactly sure where, but we don't want it in the west. We are just sick of having every nasty thing imaginable dumped on us from a very great height. It's just not on.
Look, it seems to me that this project, and I have some understanding of it from my time in government, because it was a stopgap project, this West Gate Tunnel, they call it, $6.7 billion. A stopgap after Daniel Andrews came to office and cancelled the east-west link, costing taxpayers $1 billion. It seems to me you would know that you have got contaminated soil from the get-go, that you would have to have a contingency plans for it. But it feels like this project, Bernie, is being made up as they go along, that they sort of get this far along and then they start to then plan the next bit. It hasn't been thought through. Is that a fair assessment?
I think a very fair assessment. Peter, I was chairman of the Economy and Infrastructure Committee of the Parliament in the last Parliament, and we investigated this project at length. And I have to say to you that certain people in very high positions in both Transurban and in government lied to the committee, and I say that without fear of hesitation or fear of contradiction. They lied to the committee. This thing, back in 2014, before the 2014 election, Daniel Andrews was promising a $500 million shovel-ready project, as he described it. But at the same time as he was out talking about that, he was in fact negotiating with Transurban about the project that we have today. This has been led by Transurban from day one, and you can't blame them for that, because they are making a poultice on this. They are already collecting higher tolls on the Tullamarine Freeway and on the Monash to pay for this this tunnel that's at least probably 4, maybe 5 years away. The whole thing is a money-making project from Transurban. They are the only winners, and the tragedy of this whole thing is that even when it's built, it's not going to solve the traffic debacle that faces people from the west every day.
Yeah, look, and I've got to say, I'll leave it here though. I've got to say, having lived in Sydney for some time, coming back to Melbourne, Sydney-siders, you have got no traffic concerns compared to Melburnians. This place is basically a car park. I mean, it is really terrible.
It's dreadful. It is just dreadful. Just dreadful.
Got to leave it there. Bernie Finn, thanks very much for your time. You stay across it. We'll stay across it as well.
Thanks, Peter.